While Canada grapples with the uncertainty surrounding U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff threats, Trump said today that there's a simple way to make a trade war go away.
Canada should honestly become our 51st state. We wouldn't have a northern border problem. We wouldn't have a tariff problem. By the way, when you take away that artificial line that looks like it was done with a ruler, and that's what it was. Some guy sat there years ago and they said, rah. Well, when you take away that and you look at that beautiful formation of Canada and the United States, there is no place anywhere in the world that looks like that.
Plus Greenland, of course. Plus Greenland.
And then if you add Greenland, that's even. That's pretty good.
It's going to look beautiful.
Okay, there's a new bill in Congress that is hoping to stop Trump from forcibly annexing the countries he has his sights on. Congressman Seth Magaziner put forward the No Invading Allies Act, which aims to ban funding for the armed forces to engage in operations to invade or seize territory from Canada, the Republic of Panama, or the self-governing territory of Greenland without congressional approval. Democratic Representative for Rhode Island, Seth Magaziner, joins me now. Congressman, it's good to meet you. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for the invitation.
I have to ask you about your bill. I have to start there, and it feels almost surreal to ask you about the No Invading Allies Act, a piece of legislation to protect Greenland, Panama, and Canada from the United States. Why did you feel the need to do this?
Well, because President Trump has erratically and irresponsibly been talking about seizing territory from allied nations to the United States. Even in his inaugural speech, I was sitting there in the Capitol Rotunda listening to Donald Trump give his speech right after he was inaugurated back in January. And it was a short moment, but there was a line in his speech where he said that the United States would expand our territory. That has not been the goal of a United States president in over a century, and it was shocking to hear. So listen, do I think that Donald Trump intends to invade Canada by force? I think probably not, but we can't take anything for granted. It's insane that we even have to have this conversation, but I introduced the bill just to send the message that the American people don't want this. The polling has shown that it is tremendously unpopular for the president to be talking about invading or seizing territory from Canada, Greenland, or Panama. It's not what the American people want. But unfortunately, we have a leader in Donald Trump who is unhinged and needs to be reined in. Under the United States Constitution, actually Article 1 of our Constitution, it is Congress and not the president who has the authority to declare war. And through the years, Congress has given presidents a lot of leeway to engage in hostilities for a temporary period of time without specific authorization from Congress. So my bill basically says that Congress needs to reclaim its constitutional authority. We cannot trust Donald Trump with so long a leash.
It's not likely to be a war, a hot war, a ground war. It can have a military invasion. But the president has spoken quite openly about his desire to use economic coercion, essentially for the annexation of Canada, to absorb our resources, to absorb our land, to absorb our economy. I mean, what goes through your mind when you hear the President of the United States talking about that? And we're now engaged in this race to the bottom trade war that is killing the stock market and jobs on both sides of the border now.
Yeah, it's tremendously destructive and foolish. Again, it has not been a policy of the United States or of any president to seize territory from our allies for well over a century. And this is not what the American people voted for. It was not a campaign issue that arose. Seizing territory and seizing resources was not something that the president campaigned on. And it's not what people voted for. As far as this trade war goes, ultimately, it's consumers who are paying for it. It's consumers in the United States and in Canada who are paying higher prices, who are being squeezed because of Donald Trump's recklessness, and it's not good for the average working person on either side of the border.
So on Monday, the Premier of Ontario announced a 25% surcharge on the electricity exports from Canada's largest province to Michigan, Minnesota, and New York. Donald Trump responded this morning saying the steel and aluminum tariffs coming into effect on Wednesday will go to 50% in retaliation to that. Now, late today, the Premier of Ontario is saying he's going to suspend the electricity surcharge, and him and maybe the Finance Minister of Canada are on their way to Washington to meet with Howard Lutnick to try to get some movement on this. This volatility, this on, off, I mean, just what is it doing to the economy and to the stock market? I mean, how long can America endure that without going into a recession, do you think?
Yeah, well, listen, as a member of the United States Congress, I'm never going to advocate for any nation to retaliate against the United States, regardless of the context. But that being said, Donald Trump never should have gotten us into this trade war to begin with, because ultimately it's only consumers who pay the price. When you talk to businesses, it makes it very difficult for them to plan their capital investments. They are very nervous about the impact on consumer spending. And again, for what? Like, what is the goal here? The president has not articulated a clear goal of what he intends to accomplish from this trade war. And so, my view is that he's using this to raise revenue off of the backs of consumers, off of the backs of working people, to help pay for his tax cut package, which will mostly benefit the very wealthy. It's a cynical and irresponsible way to do it. And the stock market is one thing, but I've got constituents at home in Rhode Island whose electricity bills are going up. The cost of construction is going up. We desperately need more housing in my part of the country. It's going to be harder for us to build more housing as a result of these tariffs. And it's bad economics. It's bad foreign policy. And so, again, not what people voted for.
We spoke with your colleague, Seth Moulton, last week on the show. And recently we spoke with your colleague, Congressman Bacon from Nebraska. It's not hard to find Democrats who are critical of the president. It's difficult to find people to join Congressman Bacon as a Republican who is willing to be publicly critical of the president. Do you think there is a moment where Republicans may speak out en masse to try to stop this if they feel enough economic pain as a consequence of either the direct actions of the president or the retaliatory actions by Canada?
Well, I think a lot of them are expressing concerns privately. But frankly, a lot of my Republican colleagues here in Congress are not living in reality. They think that Donald Trump's actions are popular. They think that it won't be that bad. They, when angry people turn up at their town halls, they convince themselves that they were all somehow paid or coerced to be there, and then they just stop having town halls so that they don't have to hear from their constituents anymore. They're going to have their bubble burst in one way or another. Either the economic pain from these tariffs is going to cause them to find some courage, or if not, then the voters will make their opinions known in the next midterms. And, my Republican colleagues are going to have to make a decision. Do they want to stand with Donald Trump, or do they want to stand with the people who they were elected to represent?
Yeah, and they have a very narrow majority as it stands right now in the legislative branch. Congressman Seth Magaziner, it was very good to meet you. Thank you for being on the show today, sir. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.